deep dive. Today, we're tackling something really extraordinary. We're looking into claims about a supposed alien hybrid program.
Yeah, it's pretty wild stuff.
Absolutely. Our exploration is based on this, well, very strange mix of sources. We've got leaked encrypted messages from someone we're calling Eli, a former military intelligence officer.
Right, and photographic evidence, that's,
Yeah.
well, hard to explain away easily.
There are also references we found scattered in some declassified documents.
And then more recently, testimony from a second whistleblower known as Sparrow, backing some of it up.
Now look, we get it. This sounds like pure science fiction.
And we need to keep that possibility firmly in mind.
Definitely. But our goal here, our mission for this deep dive, is to sift through these unusual claims. We want to pull out the most critical bits, the really surprising details, and just try to understand the core allegations being made.
What are these people actually asserting?
Exactly. And this whole almost unbelievable story, it really kicks off with Eli and one very, very unsettling image he provided.
Yeah, the way this even came out is striking, isn't it? Encrypted messages to a journalist, that alone tells you this. Eli felt he was taking a huge risk. Secrecy was paramount.
Absolutely. High stakes from the get-go.
And then there's the photo itself. Having a visual,
Concrete.
it grounds the claim somehow, makes them feel more tangible than just words.
Right. And the description of the being in the photo, human-like features, but not quite human, as you said.
Pale gray skin, those almond-shaped black eyes.
And visibly pregnant, that detail just immediately raises 1,000 disturbing questions.
It really does. And that message attached to it.
The future, but not ours.
Yeah, it just casts this incredibly dark shadow over everything right from the start. It's chilling.
Okay, so let's dig into Eli's story a bit more. Where does he say this all began?
Well, interestingly, he doesn't point to some modern lab. He traces it all the way back to 1983.
83.
Dulce Base, New Mexico, another name that pops up a lot in these circles.
And what happened there, according to Eli?
He claims an alien craft was recovered there, and he was apparently very specific. It landed. It wasn't shot down.
Landed, okay, not crashed or forced down.
Exactly. Inside, they supposedly found 6 beings. 2 were still alive.
Wow, and the others?
The autopsy findings on the deceased ones are, oh, they're bizarre. And deeply unsettling, frankly.
How so?
No digestive system. Instead, they found this strange, clear liquid inside.
No digestion.
Okay, but the real shocker, they found a uterus in these beings.
A uterus in beings with no digestive tract. That's biologically baffling.
It is. Eli's take on it was that these entities were essentially biological surrogates, living incubators maybe.
Designed purely for reproduction,
That
perhaps.
seems to be his interpretation, yes.
Yeah.
And he believes that event, Dulce 83, was the real start, the beginning of this hybrid program.
The specificity of those biological details is striking, isn't
It
it?
really is. No digestion, but a uterus. It points strongly towards a very specialized function, like Eli suggests. Gestation, not independent survival.
It's macabre, but it moves beyond just vague alien descriptions into something disturbingly functional.
Exactly. It adds this layer of unsettling detail that makes you pause.
So, after this alleged discovery at Dulce, what's the next step in Eli's narrative?
He described a black budget project, codename GENEVA.
GENEVA. Did he say what it stood for?
He did. Genetic engineering for non-Earth viable assimilation.
Non-Earth viable assimilation, okay. And who is running this?
According to Eli, it was a joint initiative. Involved parts of U.S. intelligence and these
Yeah,
non-human entities he kept referring to,
so a collaboration.
apparently. The stated goal, he claimed, was to create life forms that could survive both here, in Earth's atmosphere, and also in environments beyond Earth.
Which is a pretty ambitious goal, to say the least.
Understatement, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting, connecting to those documents you mentioned earlier.
The declassified ones from 2004.
Right. Now, they don't mention aliens or non-human entities, let's be clear.
Okay, no smoking gun there.
No. But they do detail research into, quote, non-primate womb simulation using synthetic bioskin.
Non-primate womb simulation.
Okay. And, crucially, research into integrative fetal compatibility between human genome sequences and exogenous RNA strands.
Exogenous RNA strands. That sounds significant.
It is. Exogenous just means originating from outside the organism.
So RNA from somewhere else.
Exactly. When you talk about integrating exogenous RNA with human genome sequences, well, the implication is genetic material from a non-human source. or at least non-Earth source.
It certainly echoes Eli's claims about Project Geneva, even without explicitly confirming them.
Precisely. It's a tangible, though indirect link. It resonates.
So where did this GENEVA work supposedly happen?
Eli's account then moves into, well, the shadows. Literally.
Yeah.
Underground labs.
Secret labs? Where, did he say?
He mentioned one specifically, Facility 22A, somewhere near Nevada, but he was very clear not Area 51.
Okay, not Area 51. Facility 22A. And what went on there?
This is where he claims the actual experiments happened, implanting embryos into both human surrogates and alien surrogates.
Yeah, that sounds grim.
He painted a very grim picture. High failure rates, horrific deformities, and ultimately terminations. Lots of them.
Just awful. But some were successful.
Apparently, some gestations did result in live birth.
Yeah.
But the outcomes he described were terrifying.
Like what?
Beings with drastically accelerated aging. Some aged like 10 years in just 3 weeks.
10 years and 3 weeks. How is that even possible?
Hard to imagine. Others supposedly had no immune system at all, or it was severely compromised.
So incredibly fragile.
Yes. And then there were other traits. Glowing eyes.
Glowing eyes.
That's what he claimed.
Yeah.
And maybe most disturbingly, telepathic communication.
Telepathy. Okay, now we're really pushing boundaries. What about that accelerated aging, though? Biologically, what could even cause that?
Well, it suggests fundamental biological incompatibility, doesn't it? Or just massive, unforeseen consequences from messing with genetics so radically. Maybe telomere shortening gone haywire, or some metabolic process completely out of control.
And the immune system failure?
Again, points to deep genetic conflict. Maybe the hybrid genome just couldn't build a functional defense system.
And the glowing eyes. That sounds like pure sci-fi.
It does, but you know, if you're introducing non-terrestrial DNA, who knows? Different bioluminescent properties, maybe? It's speculative, of course.
And the telepathy. That's a whole other can of worms.
It is. But it's a recurring theme in a lot of these kinds of accounts, isn't it?
Mhm.
Advanced beings, telepathy.
Yeah.
Its alleged appearance here is definitely noteworthy in this context.
This brings us to the ones who apparently survived and developed. Eli called them the Echoes.
Right. Children born from the program.
And they looked mostly human.
Mostly human, yes. But with these extraordinary telepathic abilities,
What kind of abilities?
he described them finishing people's sentences, predicting actions before they happened.
Like reading thoughts or seeing the immediate future.
Something like that. Even accessing unspoken memories, he claimed.
Wow. Any specific examples?
There was one really unsettling anecdote he shared about an 8-year-old girl named Raya.
Raya. Okay.
She didn't speak, apparently. Not verbally. But one time she just screamed. Mere seconds before a guard nearby had a massive seizure.
She predicted it. Or sensed it somehow.
It certainly seems like it. And even stranger. Later, Raya apparently drew these symbols.
Symbols? What kind?
Eli claimed they inexplicably matched markings found on ancient Sumerian artifacts.
So, Marion, how could an 8-year-old girl in a secret lab?
Exactly. It reinforces that idea Eli kept pushing. These beings were not of one world.
That Sumerian connection's bizarre. What could possibly explain that? Assuming it's true, of course.
Well, it injects this weird historical depth, doesn't it? Maybe it's just some long-standing ET influence on Earth, like some theories propose. Or perhaps a shared symbolic language that somehow transcends time and space.
It definitely takes it beyond just a modern black project.
It really does. And the whole concept of telepathic children, it's profoundly disturbing. If genuine, it would completely upend our understanding of biology, communication, everything.
So why? What's the alleged motivation behind all this? Creating these beings, facing these failures, why do it?
Eli's explanation goes back to another controversial piece of UFO lore. An alleged deal made way back in 1954.
1954. With who?
President Eisenhower, supposedly. And extraterrestrials commonly described as the Greys.
Ah, the Great Treaty story.
That's the one. The alleged deal was basically technology-advanced alien tech in exchange for what Eli called biological access.
Biological access, meaning
Limited human abductions, with the supposed condition that the Greys had to report who they took.
a registry almost. That sounds incredibly naive, if true.
Well, Eli claims the Greys didn't stick to the deal. They exceeded the limits, took more people than agreed upon.
So the deal broke down?
Essentially. And according to Eli, this forced the government's hand. They felt they had to get involved in the hybrid program themselves.
Involved how? As partners.
more like damage control, to monitor what was happening, to try and understand these hybrids being created because they'd lost control of the initial situation.
So joining the program wasn't the original plan, it was a reaction.
That's Eli's version. A pragmatic, maybe desperate response to the Greys overstepping. A shift from observation to reactive monitoring and participation.
How does this Greta Shredi idea fit into the bigger picture of UFO claims over the decades?
Oh, it's absolutely central to a lot of the grand conspiracy narratives. Eli weaving it in provides this kind of framework, an attempt to explain the why behind this alleged collaboration, however disturbing.
Okay, so Eli shares all this incredibly detailed, frankly terrifying information with the journalist Miranda Reeves.
Right. They plan to meet in person.
But the meeting never happens.
No, Eli vanishes. But then, Miranda receives a package.
Eli's final communication.
It seems like. Inside, a flash drive. Supposedly 32 gigs of data lab footage, genetic models, classified memos.
A data dump?
Exactly. Also, a notebook stained with blood.
Blood. Oh, man.
Yeah. And a note basically confirming he knew he was in danger and likely wouldn't be seen again.
And one more thing in the package, right? The photo.
That photo of Raya, the telepathic girl, this time she's smiling.
Smiling?
Yeah. And behind her, there's a figure who looks clearly human and another figure that looks distinctly not human.
Standing together. Wow. What does sending all that suggest? The drive, the notebook, the photo?
It screams desperation, doesn't it? He knew he was likely done for, and he wanted to get as much evidence out as possible. Different formats, digital, physical, visual.
Trying to make it undeniable.
Or at least harder to dismiss.
Mm-hmm.
And that photo of Raya with the human and non-human figures, it is such a potent visual summary of his entire claim, isn't it? Bridging the abstract allegations with something that looks disturbingly real.
Okay, so Eli disappears around 2023 after sending that package. Then what?
Then, silence for a bit, until 2024, a second whistleblower emerges, codename Sparrow.
Sparrow. Different person, different time.
Right. Sparrow claims to have worked in biological containment at a facility in Alaska, specifically.
Biological containment sounds relevant.
Very. Sparrow contacted the Shadow Dossier directly. And here's the kicker. Sparrow corroborated the core of Eli's story.
Corroborated, so confirmed the labs, the hybrids.
Confirmed the basics, yes. But Sparrow added this absolutely shocking twist, something Eli hadn't mentioned or maybe didn't know.
What was it?
According to Sparrow, these hybrids, they weren't just being created and studied in secret labs anymore.
No, then what?
They were being actively integrated into society.
Integrated. How?
Through adoption processes, apparently. Placed in schools, given seemingly legitimate IDs, living among us.
Wait, what? Hybrids living normal lives out here. Why?
The purpose, Sparrow claimed, was to study their adaptation, how they fit in, how they function in the real world outside the lab.
That's a whole different level. It's not just an experiment anymore, it's deployment.
Exactly. And Sparrow went further, claimed some high-ranking officials know all about this, some don't. And maybe the most unsettling part, Sparrow alleged that some of these officials are themselves hybrids.
Hold on. Officials in positions of power could be hybrids, unknowingly or knowingly.
The implication was, maybe both. It raises the stakes astronomically, doesn't it?
Profoundly. If hybrids are being integrated, walking among us, possibly unaware, what does that even mean for society?
It's incredibly complex, isn't it? Questions of identity, belonging, hidden agendas. And if people in power could be hybrids, potential manipulation within government, within industry, it's dizzying.
It shifts the whole narrative from secret science project to something much more pervasive.
Far more advanced and widespread than just hidden labs.
Okay, so Sparrow adds this integration layer. Is there anything else connecting these dots?
Well, this is where another piece of research comes in. Our sources flagged a biotech company.
Okay.
A private company.
Yeah. Awarded a pretty hefty government contract, $42 million. Officially, for RNA sequence experimentation for climate survivability. Climate survivability. That sounds fairly normal, actually. Beneficial, even.
On the surface, yes. Very innocuous. But then
Yeah.
you look closer
At what? The company itself.
at the board of directors. Includes 2 former high-ranking DoD officials
Defense Department links? Okay.
and a scientist with a documented history of human cloning violations. Serious ones.
Cloning violations. That's not innocuous.
Not at all. And there's more. The location of this company's labs, reportedly very close to that Alaskan facility Sparrow mentioned working at,
Proximity. That's interesting.
and their company logo. It's described as a double helix. forming the distinct shape of an eye.
A DNA eye. That's
Yeah.
symbolic, to say the least.
It really is.
Yeah.
So you've got the defense links, the cloning expert, the large contract for RNA research disguised perhaps as climate work, the geographical proximity to Sparrow's site, and this suggestive logo.
It doesn't prove anything definitively, of course.
No, it's circumstantial. But it creates this compelling convergence of details, doesn't it? It certainly resonates with the claims made by Eli and Sparrow. The climate survivability rationale could easily be a cover for genetic adaptation research aligned with a hybrid program.
The double helix eye, maybe suggesting genetic engineering combined with surveillance, or a non-human perspective.
Could be interpreted that way, yeah. It's undeniably suggestive.
Which brings us to maybe the most unsettling question of all. If Sparrow is right, if hybrids are integrated, how would anyone even know? How would you identify one?
Sparrow apparently gave a few potential indicators. Again, these are just claims, but
What did Sparrow say?
an avoidance of fluorescent lighting, apparently alarms them.
Okay, aversion to fluorescence. What else?
Minimal food intake. They don't seem to need much sustenance. And they don't get sick. A reported lack of susceptibility to common illnesses, like they never catch colds, the flu, anything.
Resilient immune systems, unlike the early failures Eli described.
Seems so. And one more visual clue. An unusual reflection in their eyes when seen under night vision.
Night vision reveals something different. Okay, that's specific.
But here's the absolute kicker. The really disturbing part of Sparrow's claim.
There's more.
Sparrow suggests that some of these hybrids, they might not even know what they are.
They're unaware. How?
Suppressed genetic memories. False memory implants, maybe. Living completely normal human lives.
Until
Some kind of trigger. A specific code phrase, a signal, maybe a particular sound, which leads to their, quote, activation.
Activation of what? Their abilities, their true nature, their mission.
It's not clear, but the idea of individuals living among us completely unaware they possess non-human DNA or latent abilities until some switch is flipped.
That's profoundly disturbing. A hidden population with unknown loyalties, unknown capabilities, just waiting.
It introduces this huge element of the unknown, the potential for, well, anything, really.
So wrapping this up, we've gone through some truly bizarre, extraordinary claims today.
Absolutely. Leaked info, 2 whistleblowers, hints in documents, corporate connections. It's a lot.
And the implications, if any of this is true, are just immense. Unsettling doesn't even begin to cover it.
Are we looking at some kind of silent infiltration? Are we being changed, evolved, replaced, maybe?
That original message from Eli keeps coming back, doesn't it? The future, but not ours.
It really hangs over everything. These questions challenge our basic understanding of who we are, what reality is.
And let's be honest, official confirmation. That seems highly unlikely, ever.
Oh, absolutely. Given the nature of these claims. And public skepticism is completely understandable. It sounds incredible.
If even a fraction of what Eli and Sparrow alleged is accurate.
Then our world might be undergoing a profound shift. Not by invasion from the outside.
But as Sparrow put it, from the inside out.
Yeah. Which is, in many ways, a far more chilling thought.
It really compels you, doesn't it, to at least consider the possibility, however remote, however uncomfortable, that maybe things aren't quite as they seem.
That the reality around us might be far more complex, more mysterious than our conventional understanding allows for.
Leaves you wondering, what else might be hidden just beneath the surface?
Exactly. Something to definitely keep thinking about.